Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Adcast, a podcast for the study of modern visual culture. I am your host, Renu.
And I'm the other host, Soupy.
We're ordinary hosts this week because AD stands for Ancillary Talk. We'll be talking about stuff and things, catching up on basically the past month. We've been up to some shenanigans.
That is true. We have certainly been up to quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie, the past month has been kind of a blur. Not in an amazing way, just in a kind of where did my month go? I think the pandemic blues hit me with a little bit of a delayed sort of bump there, which is, unfortunate. That's not amazing, but I've been getting by. Yeah. Last episode was our sampler episode, and yeah, we've been doing our best, but I think all of us have been kind of busy recently. I know you've been dying at work recently, which implies that there are times when you're not dying at work, but sometimes you are dying more than others.
Dying at home.
Right? Yeah. Because Buppy.
The Buppy is probably the biggest energy drainer.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Anytime we hang out and watch anime or play D&D together, I every now and again you just hear just the chiding voice of Mother Renu.
Oh, Buppy.
oh, Buppy. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I feel like my audio would probably sound something like that if I occupied the same building as Philip. God knows that boy's a disaster.
Oh, kitty.
I love my kitty, but he's he gets up to so much trouble. Recently, I had to explain to my dad that we've had to take him to the vet because he swallows things that he's not supposed to eat. Namely hair ties, but I'm afraid that he'll just kind of grab anything that is that can fit in his mouth and swallow it. So I'm afraid that he will eat screws or something if you let him into the garage. Please do not let him into the garage. My dad's like, it's fine. If he's in the garage, he can't get out. And then he got into the garage, and then he got out. So,
oh my God.
so, because we have a cat door in our garage door, namely so that Bark could come and go. But at a certain point, we had to tape it up because raccoons came through it and into our house and started eating our snacks and stuff, and then just leaving.
That's crazy.
Right? I remember when I woke up one day and I went to the main house and I saw a bunch of crumbs everywhere, and I'm like, well, Bark wouldn't do this. He wouldn't get into food like this, and Philip's not out, Philip's in his room. So yeah, my dad checked the security footage, and it's raccoons. They were just breaking into our house, so my dad taped the door shut. But because they're taped to prevent raccoons from getting in, it's not taped to prevent Phillips from getting out. So he just fucking rammed his face in and just
Oh
broke through the tape and left a clump of fur on the tape, and then just ran into the deck. So yeah, that's been kind of weird. But my family has been building a deck in our backyard. Ooh. That's been interesting. It's coming along quite nicely. It's pretty much done. It just needs a roof. But they put all the wood down and they washed it, and they put a coat of oil on it. It's been drying for days now. I don't know if that I'm sure at some point it will normalize, but every day I walk over that, I'm just this looks slick with oil.
It takes a long time to dry.
Yeah. And it's important to make sure that your furniture does not, or your deck that you so painstakingly built does not degrade in any way. But yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've been up to recently is I went on a little trip. to a cabin in the middle of the woods, and I say the middle of the woods. It's not so far removed from society, right? It's like
It's a horror movie.
Yeah, right. Not quite. It's like a rental that my friend's family owns. And we went up there. So we got to hang out there. We spent spent like a nice solid weekend there. I got to see some of my friends that I haven't in a while. Obviously, everyone was vaccinated and stuff. I got to see some of my one of my friends that moved to Seattle. She flew down for the trip. So that was very fun. I very much approached, if not achieved, the drunkest I've ever been in my life.
Oh my god!
Just because it's like the first time you really get to hang out with your friends in like a year and a bit, and you missed a year of your early 20s, and you're now in your mid 20s, and you're just gonna reclaim a little bit of that time by just drinking yourself stupid. Drink responsibly, kids, by the way.
I'm hearing a lot of excuses.
Yeah. But no, that trip was super fun. We got to hang out. We took like a boat out onto the lake. We did lots of cooking. We did some Korean barbecues at home, of course. We did some and this was the night that I got really drunk. We did some YouTube karaoke. Just by putting YouTube karaoke songs up on like a TV, right? Projecting them and like singing along. It was super fun. I highly recommend that kind of stuff because I had an absolute blast. I was a little bit worried because we didn't have like microphones or anything, and like I feel like part of the karaoke experience is having that like intensely reverby microphone that just goes like wah, 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 wah. You're like hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the thing that I have missed the most since like pandemic started has been karaoke, like private room karaoke. I think it's probably it's something like deep down in my like Asian blood, right? I think if you looked at the entirety of of Asia, like you would not find a single place where they're like, nah, I'm not really feeling karaoke. They fucking love it, So
I've only been a handful of times in my life.
Oh my god, Renu, we should go together sometime. Oh my god, Renu, we should go together sometime. That would be so fun.
It would be fun.
We could sing all the bullshit anime songs together.
Oh my god, we could sing all the Yakuza songs.
Okay, no joke. I sang all the Yakuza songs. So I know Bakamitai and
Nice.
24 Hour Cinderella.
Oh, good.
Pretty much I got them down. And I'm working on Judgment and Machine Gun Kiss. So absolutely, I would be so stoked to do karaoke with you and get to sing the Yakuza songs. We could do it Judgment. That'd be super fun.
Oh man, I'd love it.
Yeah. I feel like maybe sometime in the future we can even like go to Japan and go to a karaoke bar there,
That would be magical.
Doesn't that sound fun? Oh,
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be magical?
Yeah.
Singing some Bakamitai
Oh my gosh.
in a tiny Japanese like
Yes.
karaoke rental room. Have some poor server paid like minimum wage serve you drinks.
It doesn't get more immersive than that.
It doesn't. That's exactly what it is, That's the feeling. That's the feeling. So, that sounds super fun.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. But yeah, I had a great time. And like I think the last like couple of weeks I've mostly I have spent a lot of time like just hanging out with my friends, we're all vaccinated. We all get together and have a little friend hangout in our house, and yeah, I'm at the best of times like a pretty introverted person, generally speaking, which is kind of funny, but also like like very much true.
You're a very social, introverted person.
Yeah. Well, I'm very social with like people that I'm comfortable with. And I think I can usually like maintain energy as long as I'm surrounded by people. And as soon as those people like as soon as like the energy kind of drops, I'm like, oh, I'm done. I'm out. Yeah. I think I can like sustain the momentum of hanging out, but I find that definitely afterwards I need time alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really weird actually the last couple weeks because I've spent so much time hanging out with my friends because like stuff is opening up again. My friends are like getting jobs. One of them is moving to Denmark, so like we want to make sure we get all the hangout times in before it becomes a lot harder to schedule that kind of stuff.
Yeah, especially if someone's going overseas.
Yeah. That's kind of wild, but I mean, he's been trying to go there for a while, so it's.
Oh well, good for him. That's nice.
Yeah. I have also just I think on the other end of that spectrum, I think like spending a lot of time with other people has been somewhat tiring also. Like
Sure.
I think I need to counterbalance it with like time for myself.
Of course.
So I've been spending a lot of time reading manga in bed, like just lying down in bed and reading manga.
Yes, classic.
I have spent maybe an inadvisable amount of time recently doing that. I've just been really feeling like it, to the point where I'm just like, oh no, I'm like running out of things to read.
Oh my god. How do you run out of things to read in the vastness of the internet?
Well, I mean, sometimes you're in the mood for like a certain kind of thing and you read a bunch of stories that are like that. Like this was like when I fell into the villainous isekai hole, which is like, it's funny that I should bring that up because I basically went back and I just reread all of the villainous isekais because I was like, I'm really feeling this genre right now. I'm going to go back and read some of these. And I ended up reading like I think almost all of them.
Oh my god.
I might have gone back and reread almost every single one.
There are so many.
I know. I mean, there's a lot of new ones too that I was like, ooh, a new one, and then I would obviously catch up on that. And I think I've like thoroughly exhausted the genre for the moment. I think I need to return at a later date to
oh my gosh.
Let some of that fruit ripen if you know,
wow, don't say it like that.
Yeah, I guess that does sound a little weird, huh? Yeah, that's kind of more or less what I've been up to. Obviously, if I remember anything else, like I'll bring it up. But that's what comes to mind at least.
All right.
What have you been up to?
I aside from Buppy, I have also taken a trip. I actually took a trip to Portland.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was a lot of fun. It was basically for my good friend's like birthday bash.
Nice.
So she invited a couple of her close friends to go with her to Portland, and so we went up there and we did a lot of hiking and eating. The two men in our group were extremely insistent that we basically use scooters as our main mode of transportation across the city.
What?
And I really did. Huh? I didn't want to be those tourists, but also I couldn't stop them.
What? I mean, I guess so.
Yeah.
Like they're around and people use them.
Yeah.
I think surely they must be like around in like like San Francisco and stuff, but I don't know why I get the distinct impression those scooters are like a very like Pacific Northwest thing. Like it seems like a very Portland, Seattle thing to me.
I think it's become more of like a city type of thing because they're in San Antonio as well, and also in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've seen
interesting.
Yeah, so I think they're just becoming more popular. Yeah.
I think probably part of the reason they're not as popular here is because it's very hilly.
Right, and over here in Houston, it's very spread out, so it would take you
It's
forever
very
to
flat.
scoot.
Yeah.
So I think in these kinds of cities where you can walk from place to place, it's like why not scoot your way over?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Yeah.
But yeah, so we did like probably too much of that.
That the image of you on a scooter is just very funny to me.
I had fun for like the first day or so, but after that I was like, I'm so over it.
I'm over these scooter. I just like the mental image of like Renu like on a scooter putt. Just
I was too scared to go super fast too.
Oh. I mean, those things are really scary. It's like they put like a motor in them and like but it's a scooter, so it's not like it has any of the like protections
exactly.
of like
You have
even,
no
like, a
protection.
bicycle.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it just seems like very, very stressful overall.
Yeah, no, I was like stressed about, going over little bumps and things and potentially the little wheels maybe getting caught on like a crevice and then flipping me all the way over. But it literally happened to one of the dudes in our group. He was going down this hill and he just wiped out at the bottom and he did the whole like head over heels roll over kind of deal.
Oh my god. It's like the worst of both worlds of like walking and being on a bicycle. Like okay, on one hand I do understand, like I get it, because like a scooter is obviously a very like easy to sort of intuit vehicle, right?
Yeah.
If you've never been taught how to ride a bicycle can be kind of intimidating.
Yeah.
And you generally like don't really want to be riding them on like the streets where people are walking.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're exposed to the the cars and the bike lane, and you're kind of at the mercy of that.
Mm-hmm.
But the scooters feel like that, but like endlessly worse. Like I think it's like the concept is all right, I guess. Like when you think about it, it's like, well, you could just like pick it up and then drop it off wherever. And then you go to the nearest one and pick up the. But
right.
Like, yikes!
It was I think everyone in our group at least like mildly stumbled while on the scooter at least once. Even I did.
That's terrifying.
We were pulling into a pizza place and I guess the accelerator was still pushed down like just slightly, and so even though I was braking, it was still pushing forward, and I didn't realize. I was like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? Like, is the brake not working? And so I was trying to stop, and so I was like, I put my heel down, and like it was like you could hear like the rubber of my shoes like screeching against the pavement as I was trying to get the thing to stop. And then finally I realized what was wrong, and I fully let go of the accelerator, and that meant that the scooter like jerked to a stop, and I almost like flipped forward.
Oh no.
But thankfully I caught myself, and then the people like sitting outside the pizza place like started clapping.
Oh my god. I think that's such a mortifying experience. I think if I had done that, even if I had not sustained bodily harm, the fact that people outside witnessed me do that and then started clapping in acknowledgement, I would have instantly like burst into flames. That's not okay. Like these things don't come with helmets, do they?
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's awful. Oh my god.
I think it advises you to wear safety equipment and stuff, but of course we
But like then you'd have to carry your own safety equipment.
Yeah.
Oh my.
It's
like
fine.
I get it, but also Jesus.
Yeah.
It just kind of makes you wish that public transportation was like better.
Yeah, so like a lot of stuff in Portland is still shut down. And I actually when I went there, I got a little bit of culture shock because Texas and Oregon are very different places.
Yeah, that's very true. They're very similar in like certain aspects, but like for the most part, they're very different places.
Yeah. Especially Portland from Houston. And so like they're still like pretty strict with the COVID their COVID policies, whereas Houston is just like, we're free. And so
yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I got to be like more careful now because people up here are like very, you know, concerned about that still, and you know, it's not as lackadaisical as like in Texas. So we noticed that also I didn't do any kind of like research as to what Portland was like before going, and so we noticed that there was a lot of young people and a lot of people with colored hair, and I thought that was just so endlessly fascinating.
Yep. Local Texan goes to liberal West Coast city.
Yeah, exactly.
Discovers a whole new sea of color.
It was very fun. I was like, wow, look at all this. This is great. And there were like really fun old people there too, you know, like old people with young spirits, you know?
Yeah.
So that was fun. And I didn't know that Portland had such like a huge homeless situation as well.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely like a thing. I mean, Portland is also like still one of those places that is like very much actively in like, you know, conflict with like police and stuff.
Yeah, like we saw
it's like a whole situation.
An active protest against you know, the stuff happening down in like Israel and all that, and
totally.
Yeah, so the fact that the homeless tents were basically pitched right outside the police department was crazy. They were like next to each other. So yeah, I don't know. It was a very interesting vacation. I guess my favorite part was all of the really, really gorgeous outdoorsy stuff.
It's a very like pretty city. I think like
yeah.
As far as like a city goes, like the skyline of Portland is very nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's beautiful. I'm hoping to maybe come back when there's more stuff open, like in the future.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really nice, and we ended up like hiking around several of the mountains, like around you know, the city, like within driving distance and stuff. We hiked like the hardest hike was going up like a mile vertically up a waterfall, essentially. Like the trail like switched back and forth to get us all the way to the tippy top of this waterfall, and it was brutal.
So did you where was that? Like, where did you go?
I'm trying to remember the name of the place. I think it was called, let me type it up. Mount Multnomah Falls. That's where we went.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, lot of nature over there.
Yeah.
Portland people very proud of the trees and stuff.
Yeah, no, it was super green, like really, really pretty. And we also went to Crater Lake.
Did you know that Crater Lake is the deepest lake in the continental United States at I think 1,900 feet, which is 300 feet deeper than the second deepest lake in the continental United States, Lake Tahoe.
What are you? I did not know that. You know what? I went there and I didn't know that, so thank you.
Okay. For a little context, I do not know when or why this started, but I think it was because like Lake Tahoe is it's the lake that borders or it's like basically on the border of California and Nevada. And it's a very like it's just one of those like California things, like Lake Tahoe. I guess it could be a Nevada thing too, but like Californians like fucking love Lake Tahoe. Like the place we went to when we went up to stay in the cabin, that was Lake Tahoe. That was where we went out on the lake. But I think I remember specifically. It might have been when I was like moving down with my partner. They were talking about like about Crater Lake. And I was reading about. I think it was because I was like, I wonder how deep Lake Tahoe is, and it just sent me to an article that was like 5 deepest lakes in the United States, and I was like, oh cool, Lake Tahoe is the second deepest lake in the United States. Oh, the number 1 spot goes to Crater Lake.
Your memory really latched onto that. I think that's amazing.
Well, no, it's because I've made that exact same joke like I think like 20 times in the last.
What do you mean? Wait,
month. Where like anytime someone talks about Lake Tahoe or Crater Lake, I just start saying those words. I'm just like, did you know that Crater Lake is the deepest lake in the continental United States at 1,900 feet?
It's also apparently one of the cleanest because there's only one path that goes all the way down to the lake shore.
Yeah. Well, both Crater Lake and Lake Tahoe are very, very clean lakes. There's a lot of like sort of conservatorship, like protectiveness of like the cleanliness of the lake. That if you live in California, you see people with like Keep Tahoe Blue stickers on their like cars, right? And they're talking about how like you shouldn't litter and stuff, and something keeping algae blooms out, like making sure the water doesn't turn green, basically. And I gotta say, it's very, very pretty.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Yeah.
I got to dunk my body into that lake, so now there's a
wow. There's a little bit of you in there.
A little bit less blue, I think. Now that there's a little bit of me in there, you know. What is a lake but a large soup? That lake is fucking cold, by the way. Oh my god. It's because like it gets filled with like melting like snow water from the mountaintops.
Right.
So like I dipped my body in and I was like, oh, my body's in shock.
I have no doubt that Crater Lake is the same because there was still snow on the peaks surrounding the lake.
Yeah. Tahoe too. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice. Anyway, you got to go in there. Yeah.
I have never been to Crater Lake, but now I think I'm obligated to go.
I think you have to go since you make this joke apparently many times.
Yeah, as the purveyor of lake facts, right? As the controller of lakefacts.com, you know, I'm obligated to go and see it for myself.
Yeah, I think summertime is like a really good time to go because even though there was snow out, it actually wasn't that cold. Like, you would think that it would be, you know, snow temperatures or whatever. But
listen, I gotta tell you, I gotta tell you, Oregon gets cold.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm really glad we went in the summer because you know it's a freaking northern state.
It was very jarring, because when I was up there in March, it like at night it would like sometimes dip below freezing temperatures.
Right.
Like when like the night we like left or the morning we left, I think it was like 35 degrees outside or something like that. Yeah. And then I got like down here to the Bay Area and it was like 80. It was like 80 degrees outside. And that was like just getting started. And I was like, it's so fucking hot here. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And then it only got hotter. So
I actually packed warmer, you know, to go up to Oregon, and it turns out that during the time that we went, the weather was quite similar between Texas and Oregon, and so I was sweating in my clothes. Yeah. It was miserable.
When exactly did you go? Like, how recently?
Beginning of June.
Beginning of June? Yeah. Totally. Right now the entire West Coast is like just like blazing hot.
Wow.
We are currently in the midst of what one might refer to as an unprecedented climatological event. Where the other day it was 108 degrees outside here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh lordy, it was hot.
Oh my god.
I actually feel really bad for people in Seattle because they're enduring their like 108 heat wave, and it's much worse up there because like at least down here there's kind of a chance that you might have air conditioning, like central air conditioning.
Right. Yeah, you guys are more prepared for it.
Yeah, like Northern California is like pretty like depends, especially like your proximity to the water. The closer you are to the water, the less likely you are to have it. But yeah. But Seattle, no, it's like zero, right? Like there's just no air conditioning up there. So I mean, like I really just I just feel so bad about it. Because that's not great, you know?
No.
Nobody should have to endure that kind of heat without proper like air conditioning. Like that's awful. Yeah, and it's like legitimately dangerous too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So
yeah.
Yikes. Big yikes. I mean, blessed that we are down here. Even my shed has air conditioning, so I will survive. So long as our house itself does not get caught in a wildfire, we are chilling. But yeah, definitely if you live on the West Coast, now is like the sort of cutoff point of when you have to get air purifiers, and air conditioners, and maybe some extra masks for good measure, and especially like bug out bags, like a bag just full of stuff to take and leave. Yeah, it's pretty rough state, I gotta say, on the West Coast. Climate change do be real.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been comparing like what temperature it is with one of my other friends that lives in Texas, and it's just like, oh, sometimes it's hotter here than in Texas. That doesn't seem right.
Right, yeah, definitely.
That doesn't seem like it should be happening.
Yeah, over here it's been I would say today it got up to like the upper 80s. It's actually cooled down a bit this week, but I think next week it'll be back in the 90s.
It's actually I was gonna say it's actually been quite a reasonable, like chilly mid 70s. But today it did reach 90. So who even knows? Like it's, I mean, we're not getting the worst of it right now, so I guess small blessings, but
yeah, I think we'll probably be fine. Our AC is on the fritz right now, but
yikes.
We've been all right.
I mean, Texas's main problem right now is that in the winter you now just like get really cold.
Yeah, our dumb power grid is just not prepared for any kind of weather variances.
No. Not even a little bit. That's kind of a yeah. So yeah, well, I'm glad you enjoyed your trip to Portland.
Oh, it was so fun.
Yeah. If you ever go up there again, depending on the nature of your visit, like we could even meet you up there.
That would be so nice.
Yeah, that'd be fun. We could. I'll Renu, I swear, if we go to Portland, together, I will show you my favorite ramen place up there, and I will show you my favorite little curry spot up there, the Japanese curry spot.
Ooh.
It's run by like this like one like nice Japanese man who just really likes his curry.
What? That's so cute.
Isn't it great?
Oh
That's
my
so
gosh.
great. I love that. I love places like that. It's like so nice and cozy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sounds good.
Doesn't it just? Yeah. I don't know. Anything else you're up to?
I don't know. That was mainly it.
That was the main
most
thing.
exciting thing. Yeah.
The most exciting thing.
Yeah.
That's fair. I've been, I think, doing a lot of just like trying to find ways to occupy my time while procrastinating, like, looking for a job and stuff. But I recently restrung my guitar. That was an interesting experience.
Yeah.
Because my guitar's just kind of been sitting there for like probably a couple years. I don't think I've played it since, oh boy,
Since the Wonderwall days.
No, I did used to jokingly play the opening chords to Wonderwall when we were in Voice Together. But I think I stopped playing at all around my junior year of college.
Oh.
So it has been a considerable couple of years.
Yeah.
Since then. Yeah. Have you been watching anything interesting aside from like what we've been watching, obviously, together? Right? Yeah. Like we've been watching the I would honestly say like just too much anime that's been happening for the spring season. Like there's so much I like legitimately don't know what we're gonna do about it.
Yeah, me too.
I think we might have to just start like divvying shows up and
I think so.
and,
I think we will
I,
have to do that.
yeah, I think so. Because like there's I honestly might just watch everything.
I think you should. Maybe we'll just watch as much as we can separately and then come back. But like I think
we should obviously watch the stuff we're watching together, like still together.
Yeah, we could save like stuff like My Hero, Aka, and Fruits Basket for I guess like next season or whatever. So we can watch it.
Yeah,
together.
I think that's probably what we're gonna have to do. I think also, to be fair, the fact that To Your Eternity is like 20 or so episodes, like it's a two core.
I don't know what they're gonna do.
I don't know. I don't know either. It's very like. I don't know where the story is going to go.
Right.
But like I can't say I'm not like invested.
Yeah.
Because like the story has taken me through some twists and turns,
yeah.
but like man, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean I guess what I've been watching is like stuff that we didn't watch during our sampler. But stuff that's from the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been watching like the new Shaman King, and
that's
been fun. Yeah.
I completely forgot about that because it's a Netflix show.
Yeah. And I watched Bakuten. Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
and I watched Nomad, which we did get to in the sampler, but we didn't continue.
But we haven't watched an overly large amount of.
Mm-hmm.
How has that been?
Extremely different.
Extremely different
than season 1. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. I mean, maybe I'll save it more for when we do the wrap up. But yeah, it's if you liked the first season, you're like, oh, I want more Megalobox, and you want to watch the second season, just like be forewarned that it is a very different story. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Interesting.
Yeah.
How far are you in? Are you caught up?
Yeah, I'm caught up. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah. I think of all the things I probably just like will not be able to. So I'll leave that to you.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna try my hardest to watch 86 and Vivi. Because those are the ones that I was really interested in, and I think together we're probably going to continue watching To Your Eternity. Obviously, we're watching Zombieland Saga, which I think has a couple more episodes, right? Or something.
Yeah, something
I don't know.
like that. Yeah.
I don't 100% remember what like where we are with that.
Yeah. What else? There's Tokyo Revengers.
Yeah. If I have time, I think I will watch Tokyo Revengers.
Yeah. There's SSS Dynazenon.
Oh, Dynazenon. Yeah, I should watch that too.
I mess it up every time. Yeah.
I always forget that there's the extra N in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like. Oh, Shadow's House. We're watching Shadow's House.
Yeah, we're watching Shadow's House.
That's been interesting. I'm really excited, honestly. Like, I mean, obviously, like problems with sort of anime overproduction aside, this season is ridiculous.
Crazy.
Like what? This season.
The list is so long.
It's silly.
It's one season, but it's just so long.
It feels like there's like more good anime this season than there has been in any season. Like I feel like I think there was like it was like a fall or a winter season a couple of like years ago that was really, really good. And this just kind of like is like hello.
Hello.
How are you doing? Hello. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. We're very behind just because we had to skip a lot of days for various reasons, for scheduling stuff. Yeah, and I've just generally kind of been busy, while at the same time been spending a lot of time just kind of like checking out You know, I just needed a little time to check out. I have not been feeling like the greatest, honestly, and I don't know what combination of that is just like the pandemic catching up to me and like me just not having really exercised my body, like it just moved it at all in the last like couple months.
Oh my
Right?
god.
I mean, there's certainly an aspect of like of my well-being that is tied to the fact that I don't move.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I live a very sedentary lifestyle, so I'm glad that that my friends are vaccinated now and we can hang out a little bit more because it means I have an excuse not to just be glued to my computer 24/7.
Yes.
Yeah. Also just like right now I like don't have any projects to work on really. Not for money at the very least. And like I've been meaning to work on personal projects because obviously I always scream about like, oh, I wish I had more time. And then I get more time and I'm just like, I'm tired. It's awful. It's terrible. But I think that's a lot of people are like that, I think.
Yeah.
Like all of the work on their personal project gets done when they should be doing work on, the stuff they get paid for, but what can you do, I guess? Yeah. But I think just the fact that I haven't really had any projects right now has been a little stressful to me, honestly, just because like it means I have no money.
Yeah.
Which is not ideal. That could be better. Not gonna lie.
Of course,
as always, just for the record, money is good. People need it to survive in our society. Yeah, I think I might apply for some like part-time jobs or something.
Sure.
Especially because like you mentioned, like stuff has always been kind of lackadaisical in Texas around like COVID restrictions. Well, California just like kind of started opening up, which is I'm not gonna lie, a little stressful. Just because like the pandemic isn't over. Like we're vaccinated, but that doesn't mean you can't carry the virus. And like some people, and there's like a new variant rolling around, and like I
think it's kind of like a weird it's a weird situation where it's like, how do you prepare for like a new variant? Do you continue to quarantine and stuff like that? How long do we quarantine? People have to earn livelihoods again. They can't keep relying on government handouts, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and like part of it is definitely just the fact that now that people have been getting vaccinated and like the vaccination rate obviously is pretty decent in California. They're like, well, we have to open now so that we can
exactly
get our economy rolling.
I think that's the main thing, is that the people are vaccinated.
No, for sure.
They feel like it's a green light to go.
And it kind of sucks because like it starts from like a state like legislature level, right? And it still just feels like maybe a little premature, especially when you consider the fact that like we have only just started to let like kids and teenagers, teenagers specifically, get vaccinated. So like children can still get sick, and people want to open schools back up because everything else is opening back up.
Right.
And that's not an ideal situation. And I understand like why there's a lot of hesitancy around like vaccines in children. Obviously there's like the anti-vaxxer movement, and just the fact that like you don't really ever know like how something that is fine for adults will affect a child, medically. And that's obviously always going to be a concern. And like I don't know, it's just a messy situation all around, obviously. But like as a result, anyway, my point was I just remembered. My point was the fact that as a result, like things are starting to open back up and everyone is hiring now. Literally everyone. Yeah, they're like, we're expanding our hours. We need workers, please.
Well, that could be a way for you to both earn income and move your body. you know?
Yeah. I was thinking of like applying to like work as like, like a bookshop clerk or something.
Well, that would move
there's
your body
certain
out of your house.
that'd move my body out of my house, and like I think it's like a very like I think like it obviously it's not like an easy job, right? No retail job is. But I think there is something certainly to be said about working in an environment that that you find to be comfortable. And I do enjoy me a bookstore,
I think you would be good at it because I think if people came to you for recommendations, you'd be able to chat them up and give them some good suggestions.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I have a degree in English literature. I would hope like a little bit,
You were born for this.
Yeah. Although I will say I've been painfully slacking on reading books recently. I think, and I think I realized this recently, is a large part of the reason I haven't been reading a lot of books is just one, I don't really know. I think I just don't have really a good source of book recommendations at the moment.
I feel that,
like,
yeah.
Because I used to read a lot of really cool books because I was reading them for my class, right?
Yeah,
And now that I'm out, I don't really know how to find cool books anymore.
I'm kind of in the same boat. Yeah. It's because there's there's so many books out there. It's like, how do you just choose one?
Well,
like even in a genre, there's so many.
It's also, I have this problem where a lot of commercially successul fiction does not super appeal to me. I think because my tastes are pretty specific. Like just the fact that I like am so immersed in like, manga and like sort of light novel space. Books tend to feel like and this is like very funny when I think about it. But a lot of books tend to feel very samey at the end of the day. Even though I'll gladly sit there and read like 50 like isekai villainous premised stuff. I think like the premise of a lot of at least what people find to be like popular doesn't super appeal to me. And I think that's just a me thing. I think my tastes are just very specific.
You need a villainous isekai book.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I need like a villainous isekai book, but also like I feel like the other problem is that when I find stuff that conceptually has the things that I want in it, it has the problem of being like Americanized or like suited for like an English speaking like Western audience, and as a result things kind of get like translated, I guess is a way to put it, in a way that I find kind of off-putting, or it isn't, and that's a problem. Like, let's just say that the publishing space of like English speaking books has had a very rocky track record with like with Orientalism, let's say. Yeah, a lot of fiction is very like very Orientalist, which is I think what I like about isekai fiction, where it's essentially like this is what like Western fantasy looks like, diluted, not diluted, but like passed through like a Japanese like lens, and it feels very different from how, or at the very least, it's it as a person who is in like who lives in a Western country, right? You see a lot of the kind of exotification of like Asian stuff and culture in general.
Yeah.
And it's kind of different when it's just Japan that's just like, well, okay, here's like a fantasy town. I mean, don't get me wrong. I could sit here and I could talk about the connections between isekai and Japanese imperialism for hours. Don't get me started. I would. But also, it's my guilty pleasure, I think. Like, I sit down and I read an isekai and I'm just like, haha, the Demon King, Brain Gripper. nice. It's just what I'm comfortable with, you know.
What if
when you find something you like, you know.
Yeah, I what if you wrote like or not wrote but read the like original like light novels, I guess, that these things are
I
based
honestly
on.
I've considered it.
Yeah.
I think uh I think I have, but I think the problem to me is always the it always depends, I think, on how good the translation is, because it's
Mm.
different from when you're translating dialogue and from when you're translating prose.
Mhm.
Um and obviously, like, there's a certain charm to just like a translated kind of cadence, right? Like, I feel like there is a specific vibe that you get from stuff that has been translated that that on occasion I do enjoy, especially if it's done, you know, lovingly and with care, and proficiently. But I think a lot of times the problem I run into is when I read light novels, I'm reading and this might just be because I'm hypersensitive to prose, to like English prose. I read it and I'm like, this is not very good. This is not very well written.
Yeah,
you know?
I know exactly what you mean because I've also run into the same problem when reading translated works of like fiction from other, you know, languages or whatever. And it like even though the content of the story is very engaging, the actual writing itself is very dry because it's a translation. And they're trying to make it like as accurate as possible. And
Yeah.
I know what they're going for if I have a sense for how the original language is structured, but it doesn't flow, you know, or you know, they don't put in like they put in the translator's lens, but they hadn't put in the writer's lens, you know. They hadn't put like
some people are decent translators and bad writers.
Right. Exactly.
Which, I mean, all in all makes you kind of like a middling translator, really. I mean, okay, that's mean. I shouldn't say that. I mean, like, it just means that, like, when it comes to, I suppose I should say it's just kind of people kind of underestimate, like, how important the job of translation is. Like, I've talked about that in relation to, like, you know, VTubers and stuff. And on the other hand, it's also, like, it's kind of just speaks to, like, writing as a skill, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, just because something is written in a way that is engaging for a Japanese audience does not mean it will be engaging when it is translated into English, right? Something that you can read. I think you have certain expectations about it, and sometimes it just doesn't really deliver. I think I like works when I read things that have a lot of text. I like works that have like very good prose.
Sure.
Especially when that prose is like is written very deliberately. And I think that's just kind of where a lot of translations like falter a little bit. Like, obviously most of these are just like amateur, you know, projects, like people like
like they do it for free and out of passion.
And like it is a valuable service. I absolutely am not I'm not here to pick a bone with the people who translate that stuff, because I think they are possibly one of the most like dedicated and selfless groups of people on the internet. Godspeed. So like they put in all the work and the money and the time so that schlubs like me can be like,
I didn't like the way that you wrote
semicolon
that.
Here.
Yeah.
It might just be because I'm really picky, right? As a
I don't think so.
I mean, just in general, I'm very picky, right? Like, as somebody who writes prose, or who is like a writer and writes like poetry and prose, like, and like game stuff, right? It's how things flow to me is very important, and I think what's important is there is a difference between a work that you can tell it has been translated and a work that has just all the life taken out of it, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it's fine to be able to sometimes criticize translations in that way, because it does break up the flow of the story that the original author intended, right? They wrote it a certain way that translates a certain way in their own language to the reader, but that you know, there's a block there when the translator isn't
Yeah.
able to somehow convey that to a foreign audience. But that part is like so difficult, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's almost
yeah.
impossible to capture,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, because you would have to find another writer who's basically the same to be able to take another pass at the translation and write it in the same way as the original author, but in a different language, and that's just crazy.
Yeah, and at that point, like, you're really delving into like translation as like transformative work. Not to say that it's not transformative, but like,
right.
Some people will then complain at you because they're like, this isn't the original Japanese. This word doesn't mean what you think it means, right? And that's
then,
obviously a giant pain in the ass.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, I think like I have definitely read translations that have been beautiful, right?
Yeah,
and, like,
well absolutely,
and like conveyed what should have been conveyed to me. I think like the gap is that what is appealing and necessary to convey in one language is not the same, both linguistically and culturally across languages, right? Like the problem is what is considered engaging writing in Japanese might not be considered engaging writing for an English-speaking audience.
right?
And how you bridge that gap is very interpretive and bound to get you hate no matter what you do. I think the problem I have is just when things that I read feel like I'm reading it like it's a Wikipedia article.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's always been my problem, I think, is like the dryness of a Wikipedia article.
It's so dry, yeah.
Yeah, it's not to say that Wikipedia isn't interesting and, like, I don't like learning about things and I like it, but it's also just, like, it feels... there's a level of separation between me and the narrative here that I do not want to exist, that I can kind of ignore, unless it's, like, extra egregiously bad when reading manga, because I could just be like, oh, look at the pictures.
I think it's, like there's a lack of artistry there because writing is an art form.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, when you break it down into just words, then that's basically what separates like an amateur writer from a more skilled one, is that they have a way to manipulate the words in an artful way. It's the difference between someone who's painting by numbers versus an artist who paints.
Writing is definitely one of those like low-key underappreciated skills. Like obviously like art, like in general, like visual drawn art, you hear horror stories of like, oh, can I pay you an exposure? Or like, why am I paying $50 for something you like drew in 10 minutes? It's like, well, because I spent like years making myself able to do it in 10, right? That kind of stuff. But I think like in general, people still don't really appreciate like writing as an art form and like how important and impactful it is. People only notice the absence of good writing. I think that people sometimes I feel like really just don't appreciate like good prose in a certain way. And I guess like obviously maybe it has something to do with the fact that, you know, we're a very like we're a very visual culture. We really like our television shows and stuff. Like I would say that the stereotype of American culture is that we're not a very like booked culture.
Yeah.
And obviously there are, you know, exceptions and stuff, but like, yeah, I feel like people don't quite appreciate that like writing well and being a good writer isn't necessarily having the floweriest language or the most words. It's just like knowing how to use words to evoke what you're trying to get at, right?
Exactly.
You know,
your work doesn't need to sound like an SAT test or whatever.
Right.
With all the fancy words that you would never use in common language just to make you sound smart. It just needs to be impactful.
It's very possible to have a book written completely in like plain language, like very plain language, right? The kind of stuff that a fifth grader would understand, but to be able to put them together in such a way as like it evokes like an emotion or a feeling, right? That's writing. And I think like that's kind of the essence that people often are just kind of like shrug emoji, I guess so. Yeah. You know? people don't appreciate writing. I say as a literature major, I'm like, people should read more books. You can do what you want, right?
I read manga instead of books.
Yeah, I literally me. I'm just like, people don't read books. Wait, I don't read books. Fuck. Oh no.
Dang it. I'm one of them.
Oh no. I'm baby. Yeah. I also just like I think like in general I have read a lot of books throughout my years of being alive, and I think that a lot of the times I think that the predominant mode of operation that we have here, and this is slowly but surely changing, I think in the popular sort of book space, but for a long time the sort of how do I put this, the deification of the 3-act structure, right? The idea that like a good story falls under this, like, these parameters, right? It's like there needs to be like rising action and like a climax and falling action, and there need to be like character conflicts and like motivations and stuff, and you know, you need like this amount of this, and you should always be aiming to get your you know characters into the most trouble you can, and like and give them the most like agency you can, and that's all fine. But it's also like people speak about this like 3-act structure and like, you know, what is considered good writing in a Western space, and they don't consider that that is not what all stories are like or structured like. And it's kind of a shame because it's not like super popular here, at least in the like novel space. But there is like a lot of like even if you look at like stuff in Japan, like a lot of like slice of life stuff. Slice of life doesn't follow a 3-act structure. It's actually completely different. It doesn't. And some people don't like it because of that, right? They bounce off it because they're like, I want stuff to happen. I want a plot to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like the entire point of the genre and what people derive enjoyment from is the fact that like it's just kind of mundane, right? There's something appealing about that mundanity to them. And I have to say, like, you know, I don't really disagree. Like if somebody wrote like a cool slice of life novel in like in a like an innovative or like an interesting fantasy world, I think fantasy is just too samey. You know what? Here's my hot take. Fantasy is too much the same.
Which is crazy considering it's a genre where you could just do anything.
You can do anything you want, and like
we've latched onto these tropes, I think, in fantasy.
Sure. Yeah, we are married to the idea of Tolkien and like Tolkien and fantasy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that is part of what draws me a lot to you know, to like isekai works, because it's taking place in a similar fantasy world, but one that is completely separated and abstracted from that. Because they're like, we're just going to reinterpret this for the stuff that we enjoy, and like obviously there are dwarves and elves because dwarves and elves are a popular staple of like Western fantasy quote unquote video games, right? But they don't fulfill the same kind of like tired like sort of tropes. And on that note, like even the stories themselves are like just very different. I think like I'm interested in RPG fantasy as a genre all its own, because there are certainly I'm almost like there are definitely like Western examples of this out there, but I would be somewhat curious, I think, to inspect how that chalks up, just because like it's such a thing in Japan, and it's something that I just think about a lot. It's one of those things that's like there's comfort in what you know. If I go into a series and I'm just like, well, I mean, this is a very straightforward series where like a boy gets isekai'd and then he's gonna use his cheat power to not die, you know, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think the reason I'm so attracted to it is just because I'm kind of done with like Western fantasy as interpreted through a Western lens.
Mm.
I feel like, you know, there's a lot of like, you know, heroic destinies and like stopping evil mega plots to destroy the world, and it's like cool, great. I kind of just want a story about like a fantasy world and like what goes on in that fantasy world. I kind of just want like the world building bit, like, you know, kind of passed through the lens of like a single character or something. You know, I want Mushishi, but like in a
I love
fantasy setting,
Mushishi.
right?
Yeah, no, I completely get that. It's like there can be like an oversaturation of it depending on,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where you live and how much that content is available.
Sure.
And then also there's the simple fact that you're going to be drawn to certain aspects of, you know, the fantasy genre or whatever genre, you know, in general. So some people are more interested in like the world building and they don't care about characters, and then
Mm-hmm.
some people are more interested in like, I don't know, like fantasy architecture or whatever, you know, like it's
Yeah.
the maybe one day we'll have a fantasy architecture slice of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where an architect gets isekai'd and then, you know, we get to follow his adventures or her adventures.
Which is I think that's really funny, just because like like travel like television is pretty popular, I would say, like in stateside, right? Like
Yeah.
travel narratives
Oh my
in general.
gosh. A travel show but in fantasy
Right,
land.
exactly. Like, that's like what I want. And that's
Oh my
that's what a
God.
lot of like Japanese like properties deliver to me, and I'm just like, delicious. Let me just eat that right up. Nom 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 nom.
Yum 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 yum.
You know, I think it is because there is an attention to minute detail in a lot of Japanese fantasy work that does not happen in Western fantasy, because I think Western fantasy is very concerned with like, one, the overarching plot, and two, world building as a historical wargaming exercise. Like, consider the two different kinds of world building when you look at something like Dungeon Meshi, right? One of my favorite
Yeah.
fantasy series of all time, and something like I would bring up like a, you know, like a popular fantasy novel like Name of the Wind or something, but I actually legitimately could not. I have not read those. I'm okay not reading like the 800-page novel. I've been told what it's like, and I just don't need more white guy fantasy in my life. Sorry. But like, let's just take like the most basest line sort of approach here, and like and just like talk about I was gonna say Lord of the Rings, but Lord of the Rings is actually a really bad example, because I think ironically Lord of the Rings, or at the very least The Hobbit, right, is way more about those minute details in a way that
Sure. Yeah.
a lot of fantasy after Tolkien and inspired by Tolkien isn't. Like,
I think yeah, I know. I tend to agree. I think it could be that we end up in the Western, you know, side of things, because we have such a huge exposure to Tolkien. We kind of take those details for granted now because it's just
Yeah.
kind of like assumed that they're
Well-
there. Versus like in another country, if they're doing the like specifically Western fantasy, they have to kind of like break it down and
Yeah,
analyze it
totally.
and figure out what makes a Western fantasy, and
Yeah,
make sure to include
yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah. Well, like, the thing is, like, okay, let's take let's take like Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Sure.
Like,
yeah. Mhm.
Because I think if we're going to talk about the kind of like the aggregation of
Mhm.
like big fantasy properties, we should probably talk about D&D, which is just like this weird like like cultural amalgamation of, you know, it's a pastiche of Western fantasy, right?
Yeah.
so there is this kind of sense of the important details are all related to history, right? And that makes sense, right? Like Tolkien was like a historian. So there obviously, like, you know, he wrote like The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. He wrote the Silmarillion, which is like the like explanation of all the stuff that happens. And like I think people get caught up on that, like the big world building. They're like, okay, so at the beginning of all time, angels descended and created the planet, right? And they talk about all of the historical factions and wars that have taken place. But where Tolkien succeeds, that a lot of Western fantasy fails, is the minute details of what is it actually like to live in this world, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the thing about The Hobbit that I really like, right, is the fact that there's a lot of attention paid to the culture of like hobbits.
Yes.
And like,
yes.
okay, they eat this much, they live in holes, they don't wear shoes, they're short, right? People overlook them, right? And that's kind of the aspect of fantasy that I've always been chasing, I think, right?
Me too. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah.
And it's the kind of fantasy that is weirdly very much more popular in Japan, where they're way more willing to tell you, like, well, this, like, they're way more willing to tell you, like, okay, like, this is popular, let's say, like, bread is popular amongst human populations because there's wheat all over and like close to them, right? It actually pays attention to what people are eating. It pays attention to like what people like wear and why, right? There is
yeah, definitely
a ton of attention paid to those details that, while they're not important to the big overarching plot or whatever, even if there is even one, right? They give a very grounded sense of what it's like to exist in that space. And I think in that way, like, that's why Japan is so much better at escapist fiction than like than the West is.
It's
like,
definitely like a wildly different style of storytelling. Like I think with Western audiences, a Western writer might feel like a fear of boring their audience because the attention span is like maybe smaller, or they want to get to the good stuff sooner.
Right,
the excitement's like already there, and so they try and plow through that as quickly as they can, or build up to it as quickly as they can. Versus in Japanese storytelling, it tends to kind of like take the liberty of slowing down. There's like a value in that, and so that might put off like a Western audience member who they think that it's like the pacing's all wrong and that it needs to like there's a different preference in that. I guess
I think the thing is that like Western fiction to me is individualist fiction. It's about like characters and their agency and what they're going to do, right? A story is bad if your characters do not have agency. But in like non-Western stories, a lot of that does not hold true, right? It's what I would consider like I wouldn't even say collectivist. I think it's just like social fiction, right? Societal fiction, right? It is this idea that you are not the person who will change the world. You are a person who lives within this society, and like it is up to you to navigate your own sort of path within it. But for the most part, right, like you're not really going to go around like upheaving kingdoms and stuff like that, right? Which is the kind of like the power fantasy, like in and I mean obviously there's some nuance to it.
Yeah, I think there definitely exists like the power fantasy.
Oh god, don't even get me started on Isekai.
Japanese
don't
literature.
Get me started on Isekai.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, but yeah, I mean, even in like Isekai, a lot of it is about like adapting to a new society and seeing like what it's like there. Obviously, a lot of Isekai trends towards the conclusion of that being, well, this is obviously inferior to Japanese culture, so I should just introduce them to the superior culture, which, ding ding, colonialism. But, like, I think it's interesting to me, like, how that's so different, because I think a large part of the reason for that is American audiences and Western audiences in general, but American audiences like specifically, I feel like do not like that feeling. They don't like the feeling of being like disenfranchised or at the mercy of like societal forces. And a lot of our cultural narratives are about resisting that, right? It's about individualism.
Yeah, no,
and
I
freedom.
agree. I think a lot of stories, like, if you were to think of like the origin of like a superhero story or whatever, the character starts off weak or normal, and due to some freak accident or like societal forces or whatever, they gain powers to then rebel against the societal, whatever thing
Right.
that they're battling against.
Yeah.
So I think it is definitely born out of from some kind of like societal frustration, and therefore building a fantasy where you are able to overcome it.
Totally.
And I think maybe I don't know. I would say that there could be similar themes in Japanese media.
Oh, there
as well.
definitely are.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, totally. I'm a big fan of it, obviously, like I've said, and I think this like it reminds me a lot of how when you have like character profiles for characters in like Western works and characters in manga, it's very interesting to see how they tend to differ, because a lot of times, Western profiles tend to be pretty like. They tend to be pretty like summary, and not spoilery. Like they don't like to spoil what happens, but it's kind of just like very like, well, this is the person, like this is what, like how old they are, this is what they look like, and then here's like their backstory, right? And then like you see like a Japanese profile for a character, and they list like how tall they are, what their weight is, their birthday, their blood type, and their horoscope, right? Like those are such like insignificant details. But they lend to being able to interpret the characters in different ways that I think is kind of left sort of free form for people in the West, and in Western stories.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think there's just a difference in priority, right?
Sure.
I think in a lot of Western stories, they try to trim the fat, and like, I think there's certainly a huge value in being able to tell a concise story.
Oh yeah.
And I think Japanese media tends to, well, it has the freedom to meander, and some people like that, and some people don't. Yeah.
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 Cool. Well, I would love to continue talking about this, but we are going to have to wrap up right about now. It's a little bit of I was gonna say it's a little bit of a shorter episode, but actually we did go for about the proper length ish. But we have to get going so that we can stream. So we're gonna have to wrap up now. And yeah. Why don't we?
That was fun. I wasn't expecting to get into a Japanese versus American literature discussion.
I mean, it's always an adventure. It's always an adventure on the podcast. It's only a matter of time until one of us hits a segue and it just like we just go off. Yeah, I have maybe too many thoughts and opinions about that. So
maybe it was inevitable that we ended up here. Actually,
yeah. I mean, it's always inevitable that we talk about isekai, right? Like that's just how it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you can't talk about anime without talking about isekai. Yeah. So why don't we mosey on over to the ye old wrap up section? Who are you, and where can we find you on the internet?
I am Renu, also known as Swan. You can find me on Twitch and Tumblr and Facebook and all that at SwanDrawn. You can find me on Instagram at swan.drawn. Doing art stuff, and I am making such good progress in playing Judgment.
Hey,
we are
good job.
just plowing through it. We recently switched to playing it in the English dub, and it is so fascinating.
Really?
Like, I would say a huge amount of the Persona 5 cast is in the English dub.
Well,
yeah,
that's like, I mean, that's just like any like dubbing scene, right? I feel like there's only like 5 voice actors.
Yeah, but it's like it's kind of interesting because my chat was saying like it's kind of like the English voice acting all stars. They just put them all into the Judgment voice acting, the English voice acting.
You know what? Fair enough. It's a high profile property.
Yeah. No, it's been a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I think Yakuza has obviously a lot of like really like A-list voice actors, but also like I feel like Yakuza has a lot of people that don't do like video game voice acting that often, but have other things to do, right? Like they're famous people, obviously, but like the fact that that all of the bosses are like based on like Yakuza actors in like actual
I
think that's
so
really
awesome.
funny. Yeah, it's very funny whenever we hear Kiryu in anything. We're like, hey, that's Kiryu. Because honestly, he doesn't even really do that much work in terms of like voice acting for anime and games. Like he's basically Kiryu. Actually, same thing for Majima. He's basically just Majima.
Yeah.
I think that's really fun and cool. Yeah. Did you know that the original Majima was voiced by Mark Hamill?
Yes, I did. I think that's wild.
That weirdly kind of works, doesn't it?
Mark Hamill apparently has absolutely no memory.
Yeah.
That dub.
That's so funny. I love that. Anyway, so cool. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. You can find me all the places at Literal Soup. Every Saturday at ye old 8 p.m. PDT. We play Ace Attorney together. We have started the second case of the third game, and we're currently making our way through that. It's gonna be super exciting. Renu and
I am very excited.
Renu and I have switched roles somewhat so that I may play my favorite character, I think, in the series, Prosecutor Gato.
Yes.
So please come check us out because I look forward to our Saturday stream every week. It does not matter if I've been feeling bad. It does not matter if I've been busy. I'm always looking forward to it. There's never a time when I'm just like,
me too.
I don't want to do stream. No, I always want to do Ace Attorney stream, and it's super exciting because like we're just about July. We're honestly probably. It's gonna be a little while until we finish the third game because there's a lot of cases. But the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which are the two spin-off games about Phoenix Wright's ancestor, are coming out on Steam, so we can actually play those.
I'm so excited.
So we're gonna probably play those right after we play Trials and Tribulations, and that's gonna be super fun. We'll get to play a quote unquote modern Ace Attorney game. Anyway, so yeah, absolutely come check us out. I do tend to stream other stuff on that channel very occasionally. I've been slacking recently just because I've been tired, and feeling like a recluse, but I hope to start doing stuff again. Plus my friends are finally, I think, out of the World of Warcraft classic Burning Crusade like grind hole, because WoW Classic has been moving through the expansion, or they started moving through the expansion, so they did the Burning Crusade on June 1st, and then basically my two friends that played WoW, I just didn't hear from for like a month.
Oh my god.
You know how it do. Anyway, all the places at Literal Soup. Come check me out. And our opening is by Scotchy Network, and our ending is by Takuma Okada. And the patrons we are thanking this month are Evan Williams, Frostfall, Cherubel, Magpie Mirror Test, Sean Dow, Undead Uncanny, Claire, and Dylan Boats. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you.
At this point in time, we literally could not make the podcast without you. You keep us subscribed to the awfulness that is the Funimation website. I'm so sorry that your money goes to that. Anyway, so the next episode will probably be the spring wrap up, but we will oh, that's probably not true, is it? Or maybe it is actually. No, it is. Spring catch up, and then that special secret project that we have going right now. That timeline works pretty well actually. Okay. Sounds good. This sounds good. All right. We will see you next time.
See you next time.
俺たちのジャッジメント。
さようなら。また明日ね。